Hello everyone, Cindy Settleman here, back once again with another exciting best, worst, and blandest video. And this time around, it's 1975, one of the biggest years in game show history. 26 different game shows, probably more, that either aired that year, brand new, came back from last year, aired on network daytime, aired in syndication. Wherever it was guaranteed to get at least 9 weeks, I guess. But you know what? It is time to figure out what is the best and blandest. Now, spoiler alert, you probably already know the worst. I mean, I did a top 5 worst game shows of 1975 video, but that was about 7 years ago. Maybe my opinion has changed. Maybe there is another show that deserves the moniker of worst game show of 1975. Well, it's time to dig in for the best, worst, and blandest of 1975. Sometimes it takes a little bit for a game show to really hit its stride. And for me personally, this show really hit its stride in 1975. Sure, it was the number one game show in 74, but let's be honest. It was firing on all cylinders in 1975, and that is Match Game as the best game show of 1975. Now, it was a little rough to start in 1975. Charles Nelson Riley was not a regular for an extended period of time because he was busy on Broadway doing Belle of Amherst. But you know, when he came back and got an amazing entrance, that the show was getting ready to fire on all cylinders. And it did. Because the comedy and the chemistry between Gene, Brett, Richard, Charles, whoever was sitting in that 6th seat, whether it be Betty White, Patty Deutsch, Joyce Bulifant, all of them. You know, Fanny Flagg, it was going to be hilarious to watch. There wasn't a must-miss episode in 1975 once Charles Nelson Riley came back and Gary Berghoff was sent back to semi-regular land. And this was also the year that Match Game expanded by getting a weekly syndicated version called Match Game PM. Now, this type of thing has been done before game shows when they had a successful daytime show and they decided to do a weekly syndicated show. Let's Make a Deal has done it. Jeopardy did it, even though Jeopardy didn't do all that well because that show was winding down in daytime anyways. The biggest one I could think of is $25,000 Pyramid in nighttime, $10,000 Pyramid in daytime. The thing about those shows is, for the daytime version with $10,000 Pyramid, you played until you scaled the pyramid and won the big money. For nighttime, you played that one show, and that was it. I think another better example would probably be Hollywood Squares, because Hollywood Squares, you played until you won 5 games, and then you won a big jackpot of prizes. For the nighttime version, you only played one show, and that was it. Same thing with Match Game. You played until you were defeated in the daytime version. In the nighttime version, you played one show, but you played for increased stakes. Where the biggest prize you could win in one game in daytime was $5,000. In the nighttime version, it was $10,000. And both of those numbers would be doubled once the Star Wheel came to play in 1978. And to be fair, Match Game PM at the start was hilarious. You had classic moments like Help Preserve Your Basic Big Picture Hat Society, and Betty and Richard essentially mimicking Brett and Charles for a round or so. It was just hilarious, not just as a game show, but as entertainment. Like, it was brilliant. And to me, that's why Match Game is the best game show of 1975. I had to think a little bit on what was the blandest of 1975. Now, I said Jeopardy was writing down, and to be honest, it only took me until 7 or so years ago for me to really come around on Jeopardy. But that was nowhere near the blandest. I thought about Three for the Money, but that had an interesting gimmick. But there was one show that I really did not enjoy watching and thought it was not very good, but it wasn't bad. It was just tasteless and had nothing to it. And you're going to be shocked when I say this. Don Adams Screen Test. Now, the premise of this show was that you'd have people try out to be in the pictures, in the movies. That was still a big dream back in the day. And what would happen is they would have a bunch of potential actors or actresses being the audience. And like in award-style fashion, Don Adams would say some names and would say, how would you like to be in the pictures? Insert name here. They would come on down. They would do a scene. They would be judged. And whoever the 3 judges thought did the best that show would get a few walk-on parts and be in line for some speaking roles and maybe get going in the realm of the business we call show. Didn't work out too well. I'm pretty sure the show would be better remembered if anybody who tried out for that show actually went on to be a big star. I mean, think about it. Would Star Search be as popular as it was if it didn't have the gravitas and actually found some big stars? I mean, if you take a look at that first season of Star Search, Sawyer Brown, Brad Garrett, various others. I know J.D. Roth was on Star Search, and he became a big star in the world of game shows with Funhouse and also behind the scenes, especially with The Biggest Loser. Don Adams' Screen Test had none of that. Don Adams wasn't that good of a host, and to be honest, a lot of the scenes that they set up did nothing for me. To me, it was just really vanilla. I didn't enjoy it. To me, that makes it the blandest.
Didn't happen! Oh, can't win with it! Oh, no!
And as for the worst, I did a top 5. Now, those top 5, in my opinion, are still the worst. But I might be changing the order. However, number 1 is still the same. It is The Neighbors as the worst game show of 1975. Sure, it debuted late in December of 1975. It still counts. And to be frank, the problem is this. It ripped off almost wholesale what the Newlywed Game did, but did it with sets of neighbors. I mean, with the Newlywed Game, getting to know about intimate details about somebody's early married life or engagement run or dating and stuff like that, that was entertaining, especially with the arguments between husband and wife. I mean, the story of the battling Bickersons and stuff like that. I mean, that was kind of quality programming you can get in the 60s and 70s. As for figuring out what's been going on with neighbors and stuff like that, nobody cared. Regis was the host for the Neighbors, and he tried, but he wouldn't find his grip as a host until when he started to get his own talk show in the 80s. He had Regis Philbin Health Styles, And then he became the co-host of Live with Regis and Kathy Lee. Regis hit his stride, and then 1999 hit, and we got Millionaire. And that's where Regis shined as a game show host. As for The Neighbors, no. And as for Almost Anything Goes, the show he did previously, no. So the format isn't that good. The host isn't that good. The set, I didn't dig at all. Like, it's supposed to be like a backyard, porch, patio thing. And I didn't like it. And absolutely, the whole setup was ripped wholesale from the Newlywed Game. I get rip-off shows. I mean, some of the better game shows are rip-off shows. I mean, Family Feud came from Match Game. Card Sharks came from Family Feud. So, shows that rip off another show can be good. In some cases, very good. However, in the case of The Neighbors, nothing worked. And to be honest, this was also made by Bill Carruthers at a time where he made some really, really awful shows. Give and Take, for example, wasn't that good. The Neighbors wasn't that good. It wasn't a while until he hit upon Second Chance, which would later become Pressure Luck. And I will say this, if Pressure Luck didn't happen at all, he would be looked at as one of the biggest failures in game show history, from a producer standpoint. Quite a few shows on the air, none of them any good. Thankfully, that title is now secure in the arms of Scott Sternberg. But, once again, The Neighbors, the worst game show of 1975. If you want to know more about why I think The Neighbors stunk, I did a written induction of that on the Game Show Garbage website. Link is in the description below. Also, check out the top 5 worst game shows of 1975 video that I did a few years ago. Link is in the description below. And that wraps up this edition of the best, worst, and blandest game shows. I hope you enjoyed this nice little video. If you liked it, thumbs up the video, share it on all the socials. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Leave a comment about what years you want to see in the future. And if you want to see videos today early, like these wonderful people right here, become a Patreon backer at patreon.com/GameShowGumbo. Help support the site, help support the channel, and we could do amazing things. Until then, I'm Cindy Seidelman. See you next time, everyone. Bye for now.